how do you feel about walking through a cemetery?
If it doesn't scare you, you might want to go on a lantern tour. Rhonda Moore is live at Woodland Cemetery and says it's the first time this tour has been offered. Rhonda?
Good morning. Yeah, I got my lantern, and this is what all of the people who will come out here for the tour will be carrying along with them. Joining me now is Debbie Mesher, and talk to me a little bit about our first stop, the gravesite that we're going to see here.
The gravesite we're at now is actually the Howe family. Back in 1905, there was a person called the Cincinnati Ripper. He actually killed multiple young girls. This gravesite here is actually the Howe family. There was a Dr. Oliver Howe who was from Cincinnati. Back in the day, he sedated his family. He set the house on fire and killed them all. Unfortunately, all three of them are buried here in the grave, but they had this idea that maybe Dr. Oliver Howe had something to do with this Cincinnati Ripper who had murdered the girls around here locally.
Wow, interesting story. Okay, so you were saying that as far as the tour, you guys go way back. This is not like things that have happened recently.
No, this is actually the late 1800s to early 1900s.
All right, and how long will the tour be, the walking tour?
It runs probably an hour and a half to 2 hours. We start out during the daylight, usually 6:30 in the evening, and then by the time you finish, you're actually in the dark in the cemetery.
So that's why you need a lantern.
Exactly.
All right, and so what other kind of people will you learn about at the cemetery?
It's basically called a history, mystery, mayhem, and murder. It's not all murder. We have a lot of historical people in here. We go by the Deeds Mausoleum. We also go by Jordan, who was a slave back in the day. And I think periodically people might have seen the letter published in the newspaper that he had written to his old master looking for back pay.
All right. So he's buried over here in this area as well?
Yeah, he's actually just down the road just a little bit.
Okay. All right. So this is a very exciting kind of tour and very different.
It is. It's different for us. We usually do just a standard historical tour. We have a woman's tour, a sports legends tour. It was something that we were looking a little bit different, you know, to put out here. So.
All right. Well, if you'd like to take this lantern tour, it is tomorrow, next Wednesday, and the 16th, which is the 16th, and then Wednesday, October the 23rd. It starts at 6:30 p.m. Now, reservations are required, so you will need to call Woodland Cemetery. And coming up at 8:05, we're going to continue the tour, and we'll show you some more grave sites. Back to you guys.
All right, kind of some dark stories to be told.
Yeah, but it even seems, even this in the morning right now, it seems kind of spooky out there.
Really cool thing to do to celebrate Halloween if you want, you're into that. And a little bit of history and a little bit more mystery.
Yeah, throw in some mayhem and murder, and you've got a tour through Woodland Cemetery. Rhonda Moore is live there this morning doing that walking tour. Good morning, Rhonda.
Good morning. Yes, this walking tour is about an hour and a half to 2 hours long. And last hour we told you about one of the murderers here. And now we're going to talk a little history. This is Debbie Mesher, and she's with Woodland Cemetery. Okay, so we're walking up to whose grave right now?
This is Jordan Anderson. Jordan Anderson actually was a slave who was freed from Tennessee by the Union soldiers. He came to Dayton with Valentine Winter's son-in-law. He actually, occasionally you might see the newspapers or online, they publish a letter that a slave had written to his previous master. His master actually requested him to come back to work in Tennessee. He wrote a letter with the help of Valentine Winters stating that if he would come back, if they would pay him his back pay. Needless to say, he wasn't paid his back pay.
I read that letter, very sarcastic letter, but it was being taught in like history classes and stuff like that.
Exactly. So he wound up spending the rest of his days here in Dayton. He's buried next to his wife Amanda, and actually his son Dr. Valentine Anderson is here as well, named after Valentine Winters, and he also was a good friend with Paul Laurence Dunbar.
All right, so this is just part of one of the history lessons here. What other kind of things will people learn on this walking tour? It's called a lantern walking tour because it'll get dark and you guys will be carrying these lanterns around, correct?
Exactly. The beginning of the tour starts when it's daylight, but by the time we get towards probably about halfway through, we do go to the evening, so we do have the lanterns on and that. But there is quite a bit of history, quite a bit of mystery, murder, mayhem. It's a pretty exciting tour.
All right, and so how many people can come and take the tour?
We've limited it to 15 people per tour just because we do get into the darkness and we want to make sure that, of course, everybody's safe and we all stay together. So if you're interested, give us a call.
All right, that's right. If you'd like to take this lantern tour, it's tomorrow. It's next Wednesday, the 16th, and it's also Wednesday, October 23rd. It starts at 6:30 p.m. Reservations are required, so again, call Woodland Cemetery. And we'll be back at 8:50, and we'll continue our walking tour. This time, we'll have a little mayhem. All right, back to you guys.
I like it, Rhonda. Thank you. This is not your typical walking tour.
Yeah, this one points out bank robbers, embezzlers, and even inventors. Rhonda Moore says they're all buried at Woodland Cemetery. She is live there this morning. Rhonda.
Good morning. Yes, this walking tour is more than a mile long, and it's up and down hills. We're walking down the hill right now, and this is Debbie Mesher. Okay, now, whose grave are we going to see right now?
We're going to see Maurice Desjardins. He actually was from Montreal, Canada, came to Ohio, robbed the first bank in Centerville, Ohio, was the electrician, so he knew all the perks about the bank.
He worked at the bank, right?
Well, he was the electrician, so he didn't actually work there. He had done the electrical for the initial bank. He robbed the bank twice, got away with it. He went to rob it a third time, actually was shot in the process of robbing it and wound up getting caught. Was sent to jail and actually hung himself in jail due to embarrassment.
Now, he did not have a marker, so some people put that grave there for him, the grave marker.
Right. Originally, he didn't have a marker, so there was a group that came out later and put a marker in, and it's actually got a cute little limerick on it for him.
All right, and so what other kind of things will people see on the tour? What other kind of mayhem will they find out about?
We've got a mother who actually murdered her daughter. Nobody found out about that until on her deathbed. She actually admitted to her son that she had done that. We actually have another lady who was at the mental hospital because she was quite an alcoholic, and she in turn had injured her mother. We have more history. We have actually the first black Dayton police officer who is buried here that became a sergeant at the police department here in Dayton. Quite a few others.
Kind of fascinating stories that you can find out here. So if you would like to take this lantern tour, it is tomorrow, next Wednesday, the 16th, and then Wednesday, October 23rd. It starts at 6:30 p.m. Now, reservations are required, so you will need to call Woodland Cemetery, and you will get one of these lanterns to walk around in because it'll start at 6:30, and then it'll start to get dark before the tour is over. Back to you guys.
Ooh, sounds fun and a little spooky. Some of those stories, very strange.
Yeah, if that's your kind of thing, have fun.